Hey guys, tonight we dive into a world where gods strum magical instruments in storms, quiet at the touch of a lyre's gentle melody. Imagine yourself standing by the restless sea, the wind, howling waves crashing with furious might. Then suddenly a soothing sound floats through the air, calming the chaos, softening the tempest. You probably won't survive this divine serenade without feeling just a little more relaxed. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Oh, and don't forget to drop your location and local time in the comments below. It's always fascinating to see how far this journey stretches. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're stepping into the ancient world of Apollo, the Greek god, often pictured as a radiant youth with a lyre in hand, the ultimate multitasker of myth. God of music, prophecy, healing, and even archery. But tonight we focus on one of his most captivating gifts, his lyre said to have the power to calm storms and soothe restless souls. Apollo wasn't just born with a golden harp in hand. His origins are layered like the best kind of myth stew. According to the stories, he is the son of Zeus, the thunderbolt-wielding king of gods, and Leto, a goddess who endured her own trials to bring him into the world. Born on the island of Delos, a floating island that the gods magically anchored to the seafloor just for his arrival, Apollo's birth was no small affair. What's fascinating is how the lyre became entwined with his identity. You see, Apollo didn't originally possess the lyre. It was his half-brother Hermes, the trickster god, mischief maker extraordinaire, who created the first lyre from the shell of a tortoise. Hermes stole Apollo's cattle as a newborn prank. Yes, newborn gods can be rebellious, and to make amends, he gifted Apollo this exquisite instrument. That lyre wasn't just a musical toy. It quickly became Apollo's emblem of calm and order, a contrast to the wild chaos of nature and even the rowdiness of other gods. The lyre's soft, harmonious sound was said to have the power to soothe not only humans, but even raging storms and wild beasts. Historians still argue whether the mythological story of the lyre's calming power reflects ancient Greek attempts to explain the emotional and psychological effects of music, or if it symbolizes something more metaphysical, the divine ability to impose order on chaos. But you listening now can almost hear that gentle plucking of strings, feel the tension in the air unravel as Apollo's music turns fury into peace. Interestingly, the lyre wasn't just a personal instrument for Apollo. It became central in Greek culture as a symbol of harmony and balance. It was used in education and poetic contests and in rituals, more on that later. But it all starts here with a newborn god, a cunning half-brother and a tortoiseshell, transformed into a divine instrument that could quite literally calm the storm. Oh, and here's a quirky detail to tuck away for later. Ancient lyres often had 7 strings, a number that was sacred and symbolized completeness, but in some regions the lyres had as few as 4 or as many as 10 strings. No one's quite sure why the variation, but maybe the gods liked a bit of musical diversity after all. So get ready to follow the sound waves from Apollo's first strum, as we unravel the many layers of myth, music, and magic that made his lyre legendary. You are now transported to a clever craftsman's workshop. If gods had workshops, that is where Hermes, the ever-inventive trickster, is busy creating what will become the very first lyre. Picture him holding a freshly plucked tortoise shell, carefully stretching strings across its hollowed frame. It's a humble beginning for an instrument destined to soothe storms and charm immortals. Hermes' invention of the lyre is one of those delightful origin stories that feel equal parts whimsical and profound. According to myth, the young god stumbled upon a tortoise shell while wandering one day. Inspired by the shell's natural curve and hollow body, he crafted a sound box and stretched 7 strings made from sheep gut across it. The sound it produced was unlike anything the gods had heard, bright, melodic, and oddly calming. This quirky tale of the lyre's birth carries a touch of that classic Greek humor. After all, who would have guessed a tortoise shell of all things would become a divine instrument? Historians still debate whether this myth reflects early Greek familiarity with stringed instruments, or if it's a symbolic tale representing invention and creativity springing from nature's simplest gifts. Hermes, ever the trickster, wasn't done causing divine drama. The very same day he invented the lyre, he stole Apollo's prized cattle, hiding them cleverly and leaving no trace. When Apollo discovered the theft, he was furious. Imagine being a god and having your livestock spirited away by your baby brother. But Hermes, cheeky as always, played the lyre's gentle melodies for Apollo, offering the instrument as a peace gift. Apollo, impressed by the lyre's enchanting sound and the charm of the gesture, accepted the gift, and thus the lyre passed into his hands. This act didn't just end sibling rivalry, it established the lyre as Apollo's signature tool for calm and harmony. That lyre's calming power is more than mere myth. Archaeological finds show that stringed instruments resembling lyres existed in the ancient Mediterranean, well before the Greeks used in rituals and courtly entertainment. Scholars suggest that the Greeks wove this existing cultural knowledge into their myths, personifying the lyre as a divine tool of order amid chaos. A fun side note, the tortoiseshell lyre may have influenced many other cultures. In ancient Egypt, the harp-like instruments share some similarities, and some believe the lyre's design traveled through trade routes, shaping music far beyond Greece's borders. You might wonder why the tortoiseshell was chosen. Maybe it's the shell's sturdy yet hollow nature, perfect for resonance. Or perhaps the tortoise's slow, steady nature symbolized the steadying effect of music on the wild elements. Historians still argue whether the myth of the lyre's creation is an allegory for human innovation, or a way to link divine power with natural materials. Either way, it's a story that underscores the mysterious origins of music itself. So you can almost imagine Hermes smirking as Apollo's fury melts away with each pluck of the strings, turning rivalry into harmony. And in that moment, the lyre wasn't just an instrument, it was a bridge between chaos and order, mischief and peace. You're walking now into a quieter scene where the lyre has transcended its origin story to become a powerful symbol of peace and harmony throughout the ancient Greek world. It's no longer just an instrument in Apollo's hands, it's the very embodiment of calm amidst chaos. Apollo's lyre is famously associated with the calming of storms, not just metaphorically, but in vivid tales where the god's music literally soothes nature's fury. The ancient Greeks believed that when Apollo played his lyre, even the most violent winds would hush. The raging seas would settle and the air would grow still. This wasn't just poetic fancy. It was a way for the Greeks to express the hope that order could prevail over nature's unpredictability. In fact, the lyre's soothing powers extended beyond the natural world into human conflicts. Apollo, as the god of order and reason, was thought to quell disputes and bring peace to warring parties through the magic of his music. The lyre's gentle notes were a divine intervention reminding mortals of harmony and restraint. You probably won't be surprised to learn that the ancient Greeks held musical performances during times of crisis, believing that melodies could influence emotions and even politics. Historians still debate whether these rituals had a real psychological effect or were primarily symbolic gestures, but the connection between music and peacemaking is undeniable. A quirky fact worth noting in some myth. Apollo's lyre was so powerful that it could even charm animals and tame wild beasts. Imagine a lion lying down beside a shepherd, lulled by the same strings that calmed thunderstorms. This idea of music's universal power to soothe all living things pops up in many cultures and probably reflects an early understanding of music's psychological impact. The lyre's role as a symbol of peace also connected with Greek concepts of cosmos, the idea of order and beauty in the universe. Apollo's music was believed to reflect this cosmic harmony, setting the perfect balance between chaos and control. It's no coincidence that Apollo's lyre became a metaphor for civilized life and good governance. On the artistic front, you might find it amusing that Greek vase painters often depicted Apollo with his lyre, standing calm amidst scenes of battle or storm like a serene soundtrack to chaos. It's as if the ancients wanted to remind themselves that no matter how fierce the struggle, harmony could always be restored. And of course, scholars still argue whether Apollo's lyre is a mythic personification of early Greek musical theory, or a religious symbol to convey the ideal balance between human emotion and divine order. Either way, its legacy as the calm amid the storm remains vivid. So as you imagine Apollo's fingers moving gracefully over those strings, feel the ancient hope that music can quiet not just storms, but the inner tempest we all carry. The lyre is more than wood and string, it's the promise of peace wrapped in melody. You find yourself drawn into the stories of Apollo's famed musical contests, grand showdowns where gods and mortals alike challenged each other's skill. and the lyre's magical power was put to the ultimate test. These contests weren't just talent shows, they were epic battles of harmony and wit where the stakes were cosmic. One of the most famous contests pits Apollo against Marsyas, a satyr who dared to challenge the god himself. Marsyas, having discovered the aulos, a double-reeded wind instrument, claimed his music was just as powerful as Apollo's lyre. Their musical duel wasn't merely a performance, but a contest for divine favor, and the winner would claim the ultimate bragging rights. According to the tale, Marsyas played his aulos with passionate wild energy, filling the forest with raw, untamed sound. Apollo countered with the refined melodies of his lyre, weaving complex harmonies that charmed not only the gods, but nature itself. As the contest escalated, Apollo proposed a daring final round players must perform while upside down. Marsyas, who lacked the grace of a god, failed to meet this challenge. Defeated, he suffered a grim punishment, though the details vary by version of the myth. The story is grim, but it underscores Apollo's lyre as the instrument of divine order, precision and grace triumphing over chaotic passion. Here's a cheeky aside: some scholars speculate that this myth reflects a cultural clash between the wild rustic music of the countryside, Marsyas' aulos, and the sophisticated urban music symbolized by Apollo's lyre. It's like the ancient version of folk versus classical music wars. Another famous contest involves Apollo and Pan, the rustic god of shepherds and nature. Pan played his pipes, producing sounds meant to mimic the wilderness, while Apollo responded with his lyre. According to some versions, the gods judged Apollo's music superior, cementing his status as the master musician. Interestingly, these stories aren't just about music, they're also morality plays. Apollo's lyre represents discipline, order, and civilization, while his challengers symbolize untamed nature and emotional excess. The lyre's calming power isn't just sonic, it's a metaphor for bringing balance to wild impulses. Historians still argue about how much these contests reflect real musical rivalries in ancient Greece versus symbolic narratives designed to reinforce social values. But one thing is clear: these tales elevated Apollo's lyre as the ultimate emblem of divine artistry. Imagine yourself at one of these contests, the crowd hushed, as Apollo's fingers dance expertly over his lyre strings, the air filled with melodies that command respect and awe. You feel the tension between freedom and control, chaos and order, and you sense why this instrument, this music, held such power in the ancient imagination. You find yourself beside a stormy sea where thunder rolls and lightning cracks the sky wide open. The air feels electric with tension, and the waves pound the rocky shore with relentless fury. But suddenly a soft sound ripples through the air, a delicate melody played on Apollo's lyre. The tempest begins to quiet, the winds soften, and even the sea seems to pause and listen. This is not just poetic imagery. Ancient myths tell of Apollo's lyre literally calming storms. In one tale, Apollo's music pacifies Poseidon's angry waves during a fierce tempest, demonstrating how the lyre's harmony can soothe even the fiercest forces of nature. The Greeks believed that music wasn't merely entertainment, it was a potent force with real-world effects. Apollo's lyre was the ultimate example of this belief, embodying the power to transform chaos into calm. The soft tones were thought to influence not just the heart, but the very elements. A fun fact is that in some accounts, sailors carried lyres on their voyages, hoping the instrument's divine power would protect them from storms. Historians still argue whether this practice was symbolic, or if music was actually used to help maintain morale and calm among anxious crews. Apollo's lyre also worked its magic on troubled souls. Stories tell of the god playing for those suffering grief or madness, his melodies bringing healing and peace. This healing aspect connects deeply with Apollo's role as a god of medicine. You might chuckle at the idea of a god playing a soothing tune to calm a furious storm or an anxious person, but think about it. Music's calming effect is scientifically supported today. The ancient Greeks were onto something, weaving this truth into their stories. Interestingly, the lyre's calming effect extended to wild animals too. Legends recount Apollo charming fierce beasts with his music, taming them into gentle companions. It's an ancient version of music therapy for the animal kingdom. Yet historians debate if these myths represent early observations of music's psychological impact, or if they symbolize the god's supreme control over nature and emotions. Either way, the image of Apollo's lyre as a magical calming force endures. So, as you imagine that gentle music calming storms and minds alike, you tap into an ancient hope that harmony, whether through music or spirit, can quiet even the wildest chaos. And it all begins with the soft, deliberate pluck of Apollo's lyre strings. You're now stepping into the sacred spaces of ancient Greece, the temples and sanctuaries where Apollo's lyre wasn't just a symbol, but an active participant in worship and ritual. Imagine yourself in a cool marble hall, faint sunlight filtering through columns, as priests and worshippers gather the gentle sounds of the lyre, weaving through chants and prayers. Apollo's lyre played a central role in religious ceremonies dedicated to him. Its music was believed to invite the god's presence, creating a bridge between the mortal and divine realms. The lyre's harmonies set the tone for solemn rites festivals and oracular consultations. One interesting fact is that the lyre often accompanied the recitation of hymns and poems, reinforcing the sacred words with melodic support. These performances weren't just entertainment. They were spiritual acts intended to invoke divine favor and guidance. In some temples, ritual competitions involved skilled musicians playing the lyre, celebrating Apollo's gift and seeking to honor him through their art. These contests sometimes coincided with broader festivals such as the Pythian Games, where athletic prowess and artistic skill both vied for glory. The lyre also featured in funeral rites and ceremonies for the dead, symbolizing the soul's journey and the hope for peace beyond life. Its music helped ease mourning and offered comfort to the living. A quirky tidbit: some ancient texts suggest that the lyre was even used in healing rituals played to accompany prayers to Apollo as a god of medicine. This intertwining of music and healing reflects the holistic nature of Greek spirituality. Historians still argue how much of the lyre's use in ritual was symbolic versus practical. Did the music actually alter consciousness, or was it more about reinforcing social cohesion? Either way, it was deeply woven into the fabric of worship. Artistic depictions from temples and vases often show Apollo holding his lyre during rituals, highlighting its central importance. The image of the god and his instrument became a powerful icon of divine order and beauty. As you imagine the soft melodies filling a marble sanctuary, you can almost feel the ancient reverence and the hope that music could bring humans closer to the gods. The lyre was more than an instrument. It was a sacred vessel carrying prayers on its strings. You now find yourself in a quiet healing chamber where a soft light filters through alabaster windows, and the air is thick with the scent of herbs and incense. Apollo, not only a god of music but also of medicine, sits poised with his lyre. His melodies aren't just beautiful, they carry a healing power believed to mend both body and spirit. The connection between Apollo's lyre and healing is deep and multifaceted. In ancient Greece, music was considered therapeutic, capable of restoring balance to the humors, the bodily fluids thought to govern health. Apollo's music symbolized the harmony necessary for wellness. One mainstream fact is that in the cult of Apollo, healing rituals often involved musical performances. Priests and musicians played the lyre during ceremonies, aimed at curing illnesses or easing pain-blending art and medicine seamlessly. A quirky fringe tidbit: some ancient sources suggest that specific lyre melodies were believed to target particular ailments, like a musical prescription. Although no sheet music survives, scholars have speculated about the existence of such therapeutic tunes. The god's dual role as healer and musician reflects a Greek worldview that saw health as harmony in the body, mind, and soul. Apollo's lyre wasn't just a musical instrument. It was a symbol of restoring order to chaos, whether in nature or within the human body. Historians still argue whether these beliefs were purely symbolic, or if early Greeks experienced real benefits from music therapy. Modern science confirms that music can reduce stress and promote healing, lending credence to ancient intuitions. Interestingly, Apollo's lyre also appears in myths, where his music heals emotional wounds. Stories describe mortals driven mad or grief-stricken who find solace when Apollo's melodies wash over them, calming the mind and restoring reason. You might smile at the idea of a god plucking strings to cure heartbreak, but consider the power of music to shift mood and mindset even today. The ancients were pioneers in linking art with health. As you imagine Apollo's lyre playing softly in that healing chamber, you sense a profound truth music as medicine. For more than the body, it soothes the soul, balancing emotions and nurturing well-being. This duality of Apollo as both musician and healer is a testament to music's enduring power. You're stepping into an ancient amphitheater filled with the murmurs of poets and audiences eager for tales woven with melody. Apollo's lyre is not just a musical instrument here, it's the divine spark igniting the art of storytelling and poetry in ancient Greece. In the ancient world, poetry and music were inseparable. Poets often accompanied their verses with the lyre turning spoken word into a rhythmic, melodic experience. Apollo, as the god of music and prophecy, was revered as the patron of poets, inspiring their creativity and guiding their hands. A mainstream fact is that the lyre was integral to performances of epic poetry like those of Homer, where bards would sing heroic tales while strumming the strings. This blend of music and narrative created a rich, immersive tradition that captivated audiences and preserved cultural memory. Here's a quirky tidbit. The ancient Greek word aioaidos refers to a singer or bard who performed with a lyre. Some scholars believe that these performers were the original hip-hop artists, blending storytelling rhythm and improvisation. Historians still argue about the extent to which Apollo's lyre symbolized inspiration versus actual musical accompaniment in early poetry. Was the lyre a metaphor for poetic skill, or was it literally played during recitations? Either way, the connection between Apollo music and poetry is undeniable. Apollo's lyre also symbolized the power of art to shape human experience. Through music and poetry, complex emotions and ideas were communicated, influencing social values and personal identity. Ancient poets often invoked Apollo in their works, seeking his blessing to craft verses that could move hearts and minds. The lyre became a symbol of this divine inspiration, a magical tool enabling mortals to touch the eternal. Imagine yourself in that amphitheater, the gentle plucking of the lyre weaving through the spoken words, carrying the weight of legend and the lightness of song. The art of storytelling elevated by music became a sacred craft under Apollo's watchful gaze. This blending of music and narrative laid the foundation for much of Western literature and artistic tradition, showing how deeply Apollo's lyre influenced culture beyond just melodies. So, as you listen to the imagined sounds of lyre and voice intertwining, you sense the ancient Greeks' belief that art like music was a path to understanding the divine in ourselves. You find yourself in a sunlit courtyard surrounded by exquisite ancient Greek vases and marble sculptures, each depicting Apollo with his ever-present lyre. These artistic renderings tell stories that words alone cannot, capturing the divine beauty and symbolic power of Apollo's instrument. In ancient Greek art, Apollo's lyre is a frequent motif appearing on everything from pottery to temple friezes and coins. These depictions reveal not only the importance of the lyre, but also how it was imagined, graceful, elegant, and often glowing with a divine aura. A notable fact is that many vase paintings from the classical period show Apollo playing the lyre during moments of calm or victory, underscoring its role as a symbol of harmony amid struggle. The instrument often appears alongside other symbols of Apollo's domains like the laurel wreath or the sun. Here's a quirky detail. Some ancient artworks portray Apollo's lyre with more or fewer strings than the typical 7, suggesting regional variations or artistic license. Sometimes the lyre even seems oversized or stylized, as if emphasizing its supernatural significance. Historians still debate whether these artistic choices reflected actual musical practices or were purely symbolic, designed to convey the god's transcendent qualities. Either way, the lyre in art became shorthand for Apollo's identity and his divine influence. You might enjoy knowing that some coins minted in ancient Greek cities featured Apollo and his lyre as a sign of cultural pride, signaling the city's connection to music, poetry, and divine favor. Carrying such coins would be like carrying a talisman of harmony and protection. Sculptures of Apollo often capture him mid-strum, his serene expression suggesting a musician lost in divine inspiration. These images helped worshippers connect with Apollo's calming presence and the spiritual power of music. As you gaze upon these artistic treasures, you feel the lyre's story told not just in myths, but in brushstrokes and chisel marks, an enduring legacy that keeps the music alive across millennia. The interplay of visual art and mythology shows how deeply embedded Apollo's lyre was in the cultural imagination, symbolizing not only music but balance, order, and the divine harmony of the universe. So as you let your eyes trace the elegant curves of lyres frozen in time, you tap into an ancient aesthetic that celebrated beauty music and the soothing power of art. You're settling into a cozy nook, perhaps with a warm cup of tea, pondering the philosophical weight behind Apollo's lyre. Beyond myths and art, the lyre embodies a deeper question: can music truly influence nature, human emotions, and even the cosmos? Ancient thinkers wrestled with this very idea. Philosophers like Plato pondered the moral and metaphysical impact of music. He famously argued that certain musical modes could inspire virtue or vice, shaping a person's character. Apollo's lyre symbolized the ideal harmony music that fosters balance, discipline, and order within the soul. A mainstream fact is that the concept of musica universalis, the music of the spheres, linked celestial movements to musical harmony. Apollo's lyre as a divine instrument was seen as a metaphor for this cosmic order, suggesting that the universe itself follows musical principles. Here's a quirky tidbit: some ancient philosophers believed that tuning your lyre to specific ratios could reflect the mathematical perfection of the cosmos, turning music into a science as well as an art. Historians still debate to what extent these philosophical ideas influenced practical music making versus serving as abstract metaphors. Did ancient Greeks actually tune their instruments based on cosmic principles? Or was this a poetic way to describe the universe's harmony? Beyond theory, the lyre's calming effect on storms and souls can be seen as an early attempt to understand the power of art to regulate emotions, a precursor to modern psychology. You might smile thinking about how Apollo's lyre sits at the intersection of myth, science, and art, a bridge between human creativity and universal laws. This philosophical legacy reminds us that music isn't just sound. It's a profound language that speaks to our deepest need for order and meaning. As you reflect on these ancient debates, you tap into a timeless human quest to find harmony, not only in music but in life itself. Much like the gentle melodies of Apollo's lyre, striving to calm the wildest storms. You're drifting now into the world of epic poetry, where the mighty voices of Homer echo across time, and Apollo's lyre strings vibrate beneath the spoken word. In the grand tapestry of the Homeric epics, the lyre isn't just an instrument. It's a symbol woven deeply into storytelling and divine influence. Though the lyre itself is rarely mentioned explicitly, its presence is felt in the performances of bards who would accompany their recitations, with music adding layers of emotion and power to the tales of gods and heroes. Apollo, as patron of music and prophecy, watches over these narrations, blessing them with inspiration. A mainstream fact is that ancient bards or oidoi used the lyre to set the rhythm for epic poems like the Iliad and the Odyssey, creating a mesmerizing experience that helped preserve these stories across generations. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some scholars suggest that the intricate relationship between lyre music and poetry helped listeners memorize lengthy epics before they were ever written down, making the lyre a kind of mnemonic device. Historians still argue about how literally to interpret references to musical accompaniment in these texts. Was the lyre a constant presence or just a symbolic motif? The answer remains elusive, but the connection between Apollo's lyre and epic storytelling is undeniable. The lyre in this context serves as a bridge between human creativity and divine will, underscoring the sacred nature of the spoken word and its power to shape culture and belief. Imagine sitting by a fire in an ancient hall, the soft plucking of a lyre weaving through a bard's voice, transporting you to battlefields and distant shores. That magic moment where music and story merge captures the very essence of Apollo's gift. This synergy between music and narrative laid the foundation for Western literature and the enduring power of myth, proving that Apollo's lyre was much more than an instrument. It was a vessel of cultural memory and divine inspiration. So, as you imagine those ancient performances, remember that each note and word carried the hopes, fears, and dreams of a civilization, all held together by the soothing strings of the lyre. You now step off the well-trodden path and into the lesser-known corners of Apollo's mythos, where regional cults and fringe tales paint diverse pictures of the lyre's significance. Here, stories shift and mutate, reflecting local beliefs and highlighting the lyre's multifaceted role. In some regions, Apollo's lyre was not just a symbol of peace, but also a tool of prophecy and even vengeance. Certain cults believed the music could reveal hidden truths, or punish those who defied the gods, adding a darker edge to the otherwise harmonious instrument. A quirky fringe tidbit involves the lyre in mystery cult rituals, where secret melodies were played to initiate members or invoke divine presence. These clandestine uses hint at the lyre's powerful spiritual significance beyond mainstream myths. Historians still argue about how widespread these regional variations were, and whether they represent genuine local traditions or later interpretations influenced by broader Hellenic culture. In some lesser-known myths, Apollo's lyre had unusual attributes, for example, being crafted from rare materials, or possessing unique magical powers tailored to specific communities' needs. These stories suggest the lyre was a living symbol adapting to different cultural contexts. You might be amused to learn that in some coastal towns, the lyre was thought to calm not only storms, but also the tempers of neighboring tribes, serving as a diplomatic instrument in tense political landscapes. These fringe myths enrich our understanding of Apollo's lyre, showing it as a dynamic symbol that transcended simple categorization. It was at once a harbinger of peace, a revelation of truth, and a reminder of divine justice. As you wander through these varied tales, you sense the lyre's adaptability, a reflection of the ancient world's complexity where gods and symbols shifted shape to meet the needs of different peoples. So while the mainstream stories sing of calm and harmony, these regional whispers remind us that music, like myth, can be mysterious, powerful, and sometimes a little unpredictable. You find yourself tracing the footsteps of Apollo's lyre far beyond Greece, where its influence weaves through Roman culture and even echoes in later artistic traditions. This isn't just a local legend anymore, it's a legacy that transcends borders and centuries. When the Romans adopted Greek gods into their pantheon, Apollo came along lyre in hand. His instrument became a key symbol of Roman music poetry and divine favor. Roman poets like Virgil invoked Apollo's lyre as the source of their inspiration, linking themselves to a grand artistic lineage. A fascinating fact is that the lyre remained popular in Roman education, used to teach both music and rhetoric skills essential for a cultured citizen. It symbolized refinement and the civilizing power of the arts. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some Roman frescoes depict Apollo playing a lyre that looks strikingly different from the Greek versions, sometimes with a larger frame or more ornate design, showing how cultural adaptations reshaped the instrument's image. Historians still debate the extent to which the Romans maintained the lyre's original symbolic meanings, versus transforming it to fit their own social and political ideals. Was it still about divine harmony or more about status and power? Beyond Rome, the symbolism of Apollo's lyre trickled through the Renaissance and into modern times, inspiring composers, painters, and writers who saw in it the timeless ideals of beauty and order. You might enjoy knowing that musical instruments inspired by the lyre, like the medieval harp and lute, trace their ancestry to this ancient design, making Apollo's lyre a distant ancestor to many modern stringed instruments. As you follow this lineage, you realize Apollo's lyre is not just a relic of mythology, but a living thread in the fabric of Western musical and cultural history. So, as the lyre's strings resonate through time and space, you feel the enduring power of music to connect past and present gods and mortals, chaos and calm. You're now stepping into the creative minds of modern artists, composers, and thinkers who continue to draw inspiration from Apollo's lyre, transforming its ancient symbolism into fresh expressions of music and meaning. This enduring icon has traveled far beyond its original myths, becoming a beacon of artistic aspiration. In contemporary music, Apollo's lyre often symbolizes the quest for harmony and balance in sound. Composers reference the lyre in everything from classical compositions to popular songs, evoking the idea that music can soothe and elevate the human spirit just as it did in ancient times. A fascinating fact is that Apollo's lyre appears frequently in album art literature and films representing creativity, inspiration, and the eternal struggle between order and chaos, a nod to its mythic roots. Here's a quirky tidbit: some modern musicians have crafted experimental instruments modeled after the lyre, blending ancient design with cutting-edge technology to explore new sonic landscapes. Philosophers and psychologists also revisit Apollo's lyre as a metaphor for the healing power of music and its role in emotional regulation. Music therapy today echoes ancient beliefs about melody's calming effects, showing how timeless these ideas are. Historians still debate the best ways to interpret Apollo's lyre in contemporary context, whether as a symbol of artistic purity, psychological balance, or even cultural nostalgia. The lyre's multifaceted nature allows it to mean different things to different people. Imagine attending a concert where the theme revolves around Apollo's lyre music, flowing seamlessly, weaving stories of old and new chaos and order, tension, and release. The ancient instrument becomes a bridge across eras, connecting audiences with a shared human experience. This modern reinterpretation keeps Apollo's lyre alive, not just as a mythological relic, but as a living symbol of creativity's power to transform and heal. So, as you listen to the music around you, think of that divine lyre still strumming softly beneath the surface, inviting harmony into the chaos of modern life. You're now settling into the final threads of our journey, contemplating why Apollo's lyre continues to captivate our imagination across millennia. It's more than a myth or an ancient instrument, it's a symbol of music's timeless power to calm, connect, and transform. The lyre's story, from its humble beginnings as a tortoiseshell, crafted by a mischievous god, to its exalted place in the hands of Apollo, teaches us about creativity born from simplicity order, arising from chaos and the human yearning for harmony. A fascinating fact is that music like Apollo's lyre has consistently been linked to emotional healing, social bonding, and cultural identity across civilizations. Its strings vibrate with universal truths, touching lives in ways words alone cannot. Here's a quirky thought to end on. Imagine if Apollo's lyre could speak, what stories would it tell? Tales of wild storms softened ancient poets, inspired battles, settled not with swords but with song. It's a reminder that sometimes the most powerful forces are the gentle ones. Historians still debate how much the myths surrounding Apollo's lyre reflect historical realities of music and ritual versus purely symbolic narratives. But the enduring legacy is clear. Music remains a bridge between human and divine, between mind and heart. So as you let your thoughts drift with the final echoes of this story, feel the calmness. The lyre promises a quiet refuge from life's storms, an invitation to find peace in melody and meaning. Now that we've come to the end of our journey with Apollo's lyre, take a deep breath and feel the soft echoes of those ancient strings fading gently into the quiet. The storm has calmed, the wild tempests of your mind have found stillness, and a peaceful melody wraps around you like a warm blanket. Imagine the gentle plucking of the lyre strings carrying you slowly into a dreamscape where harmony reigns and every note is a whisper of calm. The chaos of the day dissolves, replaced by serene waves of sound that soothe and cradle your thoughts. There is comfort in knowing that long ago people believed music could tame the wildest storms and heal the deepest wounds, an ancient promise that still holds true in your own heart tonight. Let this timeless harmony be a lullaby that guides you softly toward rest. As you drift, feel your body relax, your breathing slow and your mind quiet. The world outside may be bustling and noisy, but here in this moment, peace is yours. Let the gentle hum of your fan mingle with the imagined strings of Apollo's lyre, creating a cocoon of tranquility. Sleep now, wrapped in music's embrace, knowing that harmony and calm await you with every new dawn. Sweet dreams. End of script. Sweet dreams. Ngumemedi.